the demand is high and the supply is low, so that will cause distortion in our frequency system, and that will make the frequency unstable. So there are two things. One is maximum generating capacity, that constraint state that the power generated from the unit must not exceed specific value because of thermal stability also. Because if we increase the supply and that is not demanded, so that will cause distortion in our stability, frequency stability. So we have to produce enough units that are committed to supply the load economically. Next thing is spinning reserve constraints. If we talk about spinning reserve constraints, so we have to reserve some of the energy, some of the power that is to be utilized into the system. There are certain reasons behind this spinning reserve constraint. First of all, I would like to tell a little bit more about spinning reserve. Basically, spinning reserve is the online reserve capacity that is synchronized to the grid system, and this energy is or this power is ready to meet electric demand within few minutes. If there is some distortion in the system or if there is an abrupt change in the system. Now, what are the reasons that we keep reserve power? There are several reasons. Here. So here I will write some of the reasons that why we reserve this much energy or power. First of all, I will write down here some reasons to keep reserve power. The first factor is there could be sudden unexpected increase in the load. Unexpected increase in the load. Let's say in our system there is sudden implementation of some industrial power system that will drain much amount of power. So at first spot we have to face this problem. We must have that much amount of energy which can control the situation, because suddenly if there's so much increase in load and the supply become lower, then this frequency of the system will be lowered, and that will distort whole of the power system and all the appliances which are connected to the system. Now the second major point is the underestimating of load due to error in local forecasting. Let's say engineers forecast the supply and demand ratio, and there is some error caused in that. So one of the major reason is underestimating load value. Yeah, maybe load demand. So load, there could be underestimation of load demand, that we have calculated some value of demand, and according to that we have supplied, but there was error in that estimation. So this could be the reason that uh, we have to manage some reserve power. Another thing is there may be local shortage, local shortage in generating power system. Local shortage in power system. Now let's say if there's a demand of 100 megawatt power in a certain area, roughly speaking 100 megawatt. So we would not only produce a plant or install a plant which will produce 100 megawatt, we will divide that particular 100 megawatts into three different units. Let's say one is 50 megawatt, other is 30 megawatt, and another is 20 megawatt. The reason is, if we we install a single plant, and if this plant makes some disturbance, then the whole system will be disturbed. And if we divide that system into particular different plants, so if there is shortage between one plant, the system can rely on remaining plants. And in such cases, we need reserve constraint, that if there is a shortage or there is a problem or there is maybe a force outage of some generating unit, so the reserve constraint or the reserve power could get into the action, and the supply and demand ratio meets the given requirement. Now, there are certain few more reasons to keep reserve power, like there may be force outage of some generating unit or force outage of supplementary equipment due to stability problem. I have used the word force outage. In electrical engineering, when we talk about force outage, it is basically, force outage is a shutdown condition of a power station. Maybe it's because of power station or transmission lines or distribution lines, when the generating unit is unavailable to produce power due to unexpected breakdown. So these were the few of the reasons. That's why we keep reserve power. Now, there are certain conditions, or you can say that certain rules that must be taken into account before taking the reserve power. One of the main point of this, or one of the main rule, is that reserve must be higher than the largest unit. In previous example, that was very raw example I was talking about, that if there's a demand of 100 megawatt, I will split that 100 megawatt into 50 megawatt, 20 megawatt, and 30 megawatt. So my reserve should be greater than 50 megawatt, because 50 megawatt is my largest unit, power unit. So if there exists some problem in 50 megawatt, then there should be that much reserve that could take the part of that 50 megawatts. So there is one of the basic condition for the reserve. Another condition is that it should be spread around the network. For example, our reserve should be in such a way that it should be connected with 50 megawatts, it should be connected with 30 megawatts, and it should be connected with 20 megawatts. The thing is, it should connected with all of the available units, so that if there exists some problem in any of the unit, the reserve go in that direction and take its part. Another condition for reserve is the unit, or you can say that the unit must operate at 80 to 85 of its rated value. Like if your system is capable of producing 50 megawatts, then you should take an estimate of 40 to 45 megawatts from that unit. You cannot work on 100% rating of the system, because it will cause thermal instability, which will be discussed by my next fellow after some time. Now I will go for some more about the demand and this spinning reserve. Here's an example. I'm at slide number 9. Yes, slide number 9. Here is a power system that is consisting of two isolated region. One is northern region and other is southern region. So there is a tie line join the region. There are lines which can be shown here in this region. You can see that these are the lines. These are the two lines showing in our system that are these are tie lines, and they can transfer power up to 550 megawatt in either direction. That in any region, if there is a demand of energy, the power, sorry, it will flow from southern to northern or northern to southern. But in both ways, the maximum flow is 550 megawatts in either direction. For this, to meet the demand of this power, there are two regions. One is northern and other is southern, and there are total of 5 units are committed to supply 3090 megawatt. That is approximately 3090 megawatts. This is the required load. Now, how I will manage my system to give that much energy to this system or to the both regions? Northern region have 3 units. If you can see that in the table, 1, 2, 3. First unit is capable of producing 1000 megawatt, and the remaining 2 produce 800 megawatts. And what we are getting, as I have previously stated, that we will get about 85 to 90% of the rated value, will not go for 100. So if its capacity is 1000 megawatt, so I will be getting 900 megawatt. That is about 90% of the total that I am getting from this unit. So 900 megawatt are taken from first unit, 420 megawatts are taken from second unit, and 420 megawatts are taken from third unit of northern region. Regional generation, so the total generation of these 3 plants will be 1740. So the remaining which now if you look at the first unit, it is capable of producing 1000 megawatt, but I am getting 900 megawatt from it as an output. So there is 100 megawatt are left as reserve, or you can say that spinning reserve. Similarly, 380 megawatt is reserved from the second unit, and similarly 380 megawatts are reserved from third unit. So the total reserve from this system is the sum of these 3. So regional load is 1900 megawatt. So here comes the point. The regional load is 1900, and I am producing 1740 from these 3 units. So there is a lag of 160. 160 megawatt is less producing in this region. So I will have to get this 160 from maybe from this reserve, or maybe from southern reserve, or from the southern region, that will be that will come through tie lines. So now similarly we'll have a look at southern region. Southern region has 2 units, that is fourth and fifth unit. The capacity of fourth unit is 1200 megawatt, and what I'm getting from it is 1040 megawatt. And from fifth unit, it's capable of producing, but I am getting 310. But here the regional load is 1190. So at the southern region, I am producing little bit more than demand, and in northern region there is a little bit less than the required demand of the system. Now I have seen all the scenario. Now we will look at a little bit more about its in depth, that is this system is okay, or we have to produce, or we have to install another system into it. So coming to slide number 10, I hope. Now we will verify the allocation of spinning reserve in the system. Now, if we see in northern region, there is a maximum output from single unit. The largest unit producing is 900 megawatt. available spinning reserve is 760 megawatt. If we'll see this in the table, local is 760 megawatt reserve. So if we see that, it total turns to be 760 megawatt in northern area. So sorry, page down. Timeline capacity is 390 megawatt. Now, why this is 390 megawatt? If you have a look at this, there is total 550 megawatt that can be transferred from tie lines, but 160 is already lagging in this system. So from 550, 160 will remain in this system because there is a lag of generation in this system. So 550 minus 160 is 390. 390 could be transferred through these lines. Southern region is producing 450 megawatt, that is their reserve. So the total becomes 1150. Now we have 1150 megawatt of reserve power, but the largest unit is of 900 megawatt. If in any case my largest unit collapse or maybe some malfunctioning occurs in this system, so I have total of 1150 megawatt that can easily take place of it. So load can be in power can be supplied to the load in this condition. So my northern region is correct. Now looking at the southern region, the largest unit that is producing energy is 1040 megawatts. Now I will look at my available spinning reserve. Local reserve, that means the reserve that this southern region will have, that is 450. We can see that 160 plus 290 is 450. So 450 is the reserve that a southern region has. Tie line capacity is again 550 megawatt, because southern region, we can see in the table that southern region is producing enough that can meet the demand of the regional load. So the whole 550 megawatt could be transferred to the system, to the northern region, or maybe is available for the southern region. So northern region is capable of producing is capable of having reserve of 700 megawatt. So its total become 1000 megawatts. Now look at this. Our spinning reserve is 1000 megawatt, but my largest unit is 1040 megawatts. So if somehow there is malfunctioning occur in the largest unit, that is 1040 megawatts, then this reserve cannot take its place, because there is 40 megawatts is less appearing in my reserve. Because the first condition I have told before in this, you can say that the reserve in a given must be capable of making the loss of most heavily loaded generation. Now my most heavily loaded generation unit is of 1040 megawatts, while I am producing here as a reserve, that is 1000 megawatt. So 1000 megawatt cannot take place of 1040 megawatt. So to overcome this problem, there is a lack of 40 megawatt of spinning reserve in the southern region. So I have to commit further 40 megawatts of a new generation plant within the southern region. So now my system become totally working and will be flawless if I commit a 40 megawatt new unit to the southern region. Now my northern region and southern region both are feasibly correct, because if there is malfunctioning occur in any of the system, so reserve analysis could take into the action. So now further unit constraints will be discussed by my other mate Talha. I would like to call Talha to carry the presentation ahead. Thank you. If anyone have any problem regarding this example or these constraints or spinning reserve rules, so feel free to ask any question. So that's all by my side. Now I would like to call Talha to come into action.
Dila.
Let me cancel the screen sharing first. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Hi everyone. I am Syed Talha Safir. Now I move toward one of the important constraints of unit commitment, that is thermal unit. So first of all, what is thermal unit? I will tell you. Thermal unit usually require a crew to operate them, especially when turned on and turned off. Thermal unit can undergo only gradual temperature changes, and this translates into a time period of some hour required to bring unit online. As a result of such restriction in operation of thermal plant, three major constraints arises. Which one of them? Minimum uptime, minimum downtime, and crew constraint. So starting with the minimum uptime. Minimum uptime is such constraint in which unit is running and it should not be turned off. And now unit minimum downtime, it is a constraint in which unit is decommitted and there is a minimum time before it can be recommitted. And the crew constraint is such constraint in which if a plant consists of 2 or more units, they cannot both be turned on at the same time, since there are not enough crew members to turn both units while starting up. So a certain amount of energy is expended to require a unit online. Though we start moving toward cost. So the important cost is startup cost. So what is startup cost? The temperature and pressure of thermal unit must be moved slowly. A certain amount of energy must be expended to bring unit online. This energy does not require in any MV generation from the unit and brought into unit commitment problem as a startup cost. The startup cost can vary from maximum cold start value to smaller value. If the unit was only turned off recently and it is still relatively close to operating temperature, there must be two approaches during. So first approach is uh, there must be two approaches. First approach is cooling, and second approach is banking. So for cooling, allow the boiler to cool down and then it heated back up to operating temperature in that time for scheduling it turn on. It provides enough fuel to supply sufficient energy to the boiler to just maintain our operating temperature. I move toward the formula. The formula is startup cost when cooling. This C cold is startup cost when cooling is equal to H cold into 1 minus e power minus T shut down divided by alpha into F fuel plus C fix. To, unit
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. So
Solution is supposed to be member, and he's serious internet issue. He's having his foot in the breakdown at his area,
okay, so
and he's and so is it that present in the first hour in the 2 minutes?
I really can't hear you what you are saying.
I'm saying that is there any possibility that the solutions are proposed by our member in next class?
Because yeah, because every class is full, and so I'm not sure whether it's okay. You always still have time to repeat the presentation. So
Okay.
we are also
understand,
not sure whether the next time the internet is okay.
But sir, what should we do now? Because now he has no possibility to present.
Okay, so I see. And today there should be 5 printers, and now there are only you and the last printer. So is the intellect of the last printer is okay? If so, the last printer can give his presentation.
Okay, sir. In the last, when
Yes,
everyone is done with their presentation.
Yeah, I see. You are the first printer. Yes, I see.
Yes, sir. We
Yeah.
4 people have presented, but the last one, Akil Yusuf.
Yes.
Akil Yusuf has not presented yet.
Okay. Yes. The 5 students can continue his presentation. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. What did you say?
The last printer can continue his presentation.
Okay, sir. I will see.
Okay.
Talha, can you please continue?
Yes. Yes, Ali continue. Yes, and continue.
Okay, sir. Wait. We are about to propose the solutions for this particular problem. Akil has some really serious problem. So Talha is presenting further.
So if this is the case, that means and today there are 2 printers who didn't give the presentation. So I will give you 20 minutes for you both in next class. Is that okay? Whether you should accept.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so and so you and Akil will have 20 minutes. That means each of you have 10 minutes to continue presentation in next class. Okay.
Sir, I have done my part. Only Akil is left. Only
Okay.
Akil is left.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
One person is remaining, and he will present in the beginning of next class, if it is possible.
Okay, that's okay. So for Lex is group. Yeah, it's group for the unit commitment methods. So this group please give the last printers only 10 minutes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I received the message from the last group. So.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for being so cooperative.
Okay. So for the next presentation, I think all of you absolutely have pay much efforts and pay a lot of time to prepare this presentation. So please ensure that your internet is okay and the internet won't ruin your presentation. I think that you have spent a lot of time and you spend a lot of effort, but the internet is not okay. So that will waste our time and you couldn't give a high quality presentation. It's very
Sure.
it's very pity. Okay, so please ensure that your internet is okay for the next several groups presentation. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
So
Very
okay,
informed
so
Akil.
okay,
sir.
okay, okay,
Thank you.
okay. So that's all for today's class. And so actually we are only have 30 minutes for today's class. So if you have any questions, we can discuss here. Otherwise, we will end the class today.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for being so much cooperative.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you all. Okay, I will end the meeting.